fun begins.
I have access to this one plug.
Hold on a second. Let's move it back on this line.
But that might be before their time.
Next to her. Okay. Just set it there. Leave about a 2-foot gap. Yeah, that's very good. Alright. Give me a big one.
To which talk? Where is it? It's not crazy.
The writing goes up. Now you're going to line the end up on. Just make sure it's right. This one's ending in what? G? Now it's starting in G.
Okay. Yeah, I have a little sad, but I got
Rusty or green colored.
How you doing? I brought the camera out so we can get your good looking mug.
On my way to Hollywood, buddy.
Yeah. A little action shot. Lynchburg, born and raised.
I was born and raised here. He was from Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He came down and I snagged. And I told him. And he goes.
Where'd you snag him at?
On this street, I worked as a bookkeeper and for a donut shop. And I saw him, like I was here, and I looked up and I saw him across the street. And I go, oh my gosh, I don't know who you are, fella, but I'm going to marry you.
Get worse down there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's right. Somebody got to pay for that house.
Somebody, right? Yeah, you.
Happy birthday, dear George. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Thank you. We've done some great things for veterans in the past couple of years. We're eliminating the income tax. We're lowering the tax rate, and we're helping on the personal property tax also for disabled veterans. So those are some of the things your governor's doing, that Wendell's doing, that I am doing.
Present arms. As you know, 8 bells is the Navy term for end of the watch.
It was just wonderful for us to be able to do with the family. So on behalf of the Patriot Guard Riders and a grateful America, please accept our sincere condolences for your loss. May you find comfort in the knowledge that James Regas Jim Dorman Sr., United States Navy, World War II veteran, is a true American hero.
Talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, James Howard, I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and we have a nonprofit headquartered there, Veterans and Athletes United. And, yeah, I had a privilege to serve in the 82nd Airborne Special Forces for a stint, and I medically retired in 2010, and I just can't tell you enough what an honor it is to be here, to have this memorial here, to remember their sacrifices with you all, along so many veterans that are here that were mentors to me, like Steve and Gary, and so many of y'all that growing up, you know, I had an opportunity. I used to run these steps. My father would bring me down here, and I would always take time to reflect as I went up these steps and read the names and remember, you know, that I have the obligation to serve my country too.
What you was doing she was standing with men and women who were supporting him. And here we are, 21 years, still going strong. Are you recording this? Damn.
Was still there, oh, say does that star-spangled.
Started this thing called community service, where I'm just talking to people who are out here doing stuff. And, And met you for the first time today, and it's a pleasure. I actually found my last name on there. I took a picture of it, Quaylar.
Okay.
Army guy, so I'm gonna have to look him up.
Yeah. Man, I'm always looking up names on there, reading their stories. It's pretty wild. Just how many. And
so you're from you're from Lynchburg, born and raised. You were talking about how your dad used to own
this building right across the street. So when I wasn't working and just working out, like he actually had a gym in there, so we'd be lifting weights when I was in middle school and stuff up there in the cold ass second floor of that building.
Nice. I've only been into the brewery once, but
yeah,
a lot
it's
of
a great. It used to have like an old elevator in there, like a big one, factory elevator that. I mean, it was just a massive building. I mean, the third floor, he used to live up there. He like built a little place for him to sleep and stuff, but
that's
a lot of good memories in there, man. It was great.
Awesome. So what is a little bit about your history? I know a lot of the guys down at Monument Terrace, they know who you are.
Yeah.
But anyone else in Lynchburg, you know, how would they know you, or what have you done, or if you want to give us a little brief history on your SRB.
So I graduated here in '98 from Heritage, and then I went to VMI, kind of close by in Lexington, and then went in the service. I always, felt an obligation to serve. My dad was in, the 82nd. My grandfather was in the 82nd. He was a gliderman in World War II and made all the glider missions. Went from private to first sergeant on D-Day. So just being surrounded by all those guys at Monument Terrace, and there was always, that connection to do my time eventually for all those guys that came before us. So, and then I went to Officer Basic, went to Ranger School, went to Fort Bragg, served there for, till about 06, and then I went through the Special Forces Qualification Course, and just kind of led me down a path. In 2010, I had to medically retire. I had a couple combat injuries and a stateside injury that kind of left me a C5 quadriplegic. So, it was kind of tough figuring out what I was going to do till my trigger finger come back, and, I'm still waiting on that. But, I just found a new way to serve. I started this Veterans and Athletes United. It's all volunteer nonprofit run by vets, and we do programs for disabled vets, like adaptive sports. We'll take them skydiving, just all kinds of things. Adaptive skiing out in Colorado, you name it. We provide grants for them to get bows or air rifles, or special chairs for them to compete in different events. Keep them focused on moving forward, getting out and getting exercise.
And you started all this?
Yep, started that one in 2013. And we also do retreats, so we have accessible properties throughout the Mid-Atlantic, about 25 properties, and we use my home as one of them too. So there in Richmond, we, once a month, the VA brings out all their inpatients. So I have like 3 bus loads of, polytrauma, spinal cord injury, long-term living care. We do barbecue, fishing. I'm right on a lake. If you're ever up there, let me know, man. I'd love to show you the property.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I was going to say we need to talk because so I've been kind of making this idea to start a TV show where my buddy Eli hosts it. He's missing his right leg above the knee, and I think his thumb and a few fingertips. But super smart kid. He loves to scuba and free dive and stuff like that. Yeah. But we want to get him. He's the host, and he goes around and talks to people like you who have started organizations like this, and then participates in it.
Okay.
And he's super smart kid, well read. He'd be a good. So we're shopping that around, and we need to make an episode list where we actually go out and try all these different things.
I know another one you should go. Well, there's a lot in common there, but Task Force Poseidon down in Pensacola, a good buddy of mine, or some guys running down there, some Spec Ops, the 7th group guys, but they go out spearfishing, so I know he'd love that. Like, get that, especially if he's scuba diving, like go down there. He's a triple amputee, so they get you out there doing awesome things. But I'd love to have him up there. We have a printed version of the flag there on my property. It's kind of how where it all started. You know, I didn't want all these government politicians to have pull and say on what it would be. You know, I wanted it done by veterans and us, and you know, if I put it on any of their properties, it would have gone somewhere else. But anyways, we put it there, and you know, it's a way for people that come to the retreats, they can enjoy it too. But the bottom level of my home's fully accessible too, so people kind of come and go there too, and it's like an Airbnb. But we have those other properties, you know, in Boone, North Carolina, Carolina Beach. I mean, it's all over. I mean, if you get a chance to check out our website, you'll see a lot of different things we do there. And, you know, we have the Memorial, which travel that was finished in 2018. You probably heard a lot about that. But the other thing was started a nonprofit, Reach Cycles, in 2014 there in Richmond. I got an adaptive bike, you know, and that helped me kind of move forward. I got out and you know, it wasn't specifically adapted to me. I had to like duct tape my hands into it and tied a piece of 550 cord to the front brake because it didn't have a way for me to break it, but I just wanted to get out and ride. So first one I did was a half marathon, man. I just was stoked after that. You know, it took me about 5-6 hours to do that, but my hands were purple at the end of it. But it was that sense of normalcy and freedom again, you know. So when I moved to Richmond, there was nothing in place for children, you know, and I've always been inspired by them and how resilient they can be. And so we've given over 1,000 bikes in Virginia since then. There's like 9 models of bikes, and we have veterans put them together, school kids, church groups, all kinds of good people come together, and they're all volunteer too. You know, I don't make a dime for any of these. It's just my paycheck comes from those smiles and all that stuff. You know, it's just great being a part of it. So that's kind of what keeps me busy and keeps me out of trouble. And
you have to stay busy, I imagine.
Yeah, keep the mind busy, man. Yeah. That keeps you from going down bad paths.
Is there anything, you know, that, like those bad paths, is there other ways that you deal with them outside of creating a million charities and staying busy? And
yeah, I mean, but those are a big part of it. Fortunately for me, you know, I grew up in some stuff myself, so I saw suffering and trauma before. So, like, being prone to that and seeing death and being in the middle of a firefight, getting blown up, you know, all that. Like, I've never claimed PTSD. I don't know. It never hit me that way. I found a way to kind of numb or, you know, don't get me wrong. I mean, it hits me sometimes, but the ways I find I can always find someone that's a lot worse off than me. You know, I may be a quadriplegic in a wheelchair that, you know, been through some things with that. You know, for 15 years I've been in the chair. So, but if I wake up and I, you know, have nerve pain or, you know, my legs are spasm, I can't sleep, you know, and I got that flag, you know, I roll down to the lake and I read names on there, and it just like, it puts me in a whole nother world. Or I'll start working on grants for kids to get bikes or something, and it just, I'm like focused back on, well, you know, someone's a lot worse off than me. I need to get the fuck over what's going on with me right now and just, you know, get my brain focused on that. So in a way, that's been my main thing, to just kind of get back to positive thinking and not go down those bad paths. But don't get me wrong, like when I was in Fort Bragg, like my first girlfriend / wife left me, and, you know, I was there in my home. I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do next? That was a very low point in my life. And, you know, if you'd asked me, hey, would I be here right now? Like, I'd have been like, hell no. Like, but it just kind of slowly my mind came to, well, you need to stop feeling sorry for yourself and do something for others. And that's how these nonprofits came about. And
what was the first thing of charity that you did that really sparked it and was like, oh, this is something?
So I got involved with this group called the Independence Fund. They still exist, and they're good people. But at the time, like, it was interesting. There was kind of a dictator type that ran it, and he was a Marine, but he was a pilot type, but he served in peacetime. Nothing against this guy. He did a good thing, and he started a great organization. Bottom line, I learned a lot of good things and a lot of bad things about how a nonprofit should be run from this organization. And that happened at the same time my first girlfriend was leaving. Like, this guy called me, and instead of telling me face to face, hey, you need to resign from the organization, he left a voicemail on my phone. And, like, I had been busting my balls because that was my thing, that was my focus, and I was giving back through this organization. I was on the board. Like, it's a long story in itself, but the guy was just on his own pedestal, and like, I don't know why he went down that path, but in the end, it worked out the best ever for me. Like, but at the time, I didn't know that. I was like, this is the only thing I got, and it's being taken from me. Like, I was just going crazy. But anyways, I was like, well, you know, be a man, start your own nonprofit. You know, start from scratch. You know, it may seem like it's impossible now, but it's not. Just take one step at a time and just try to knock it out. So that's what I did.
So from inception to right now, we're talking how many years?
That was 2013 when I decided to start Veterans and Athletes United, VAU. And then 2014, moving to Richmond really helped too, just getting out of Fayetteville. You know, it's the people that make that town. Most military towns are like that. But, you know, just getting somewhere else. Because like at the home I was in, it was very inaccessible. For 5 years, I shit over a bucket. And, you know, I had to put a shower spigot out on my deck. I wanted to save funds so I could really put them back into these nonprofits and really find a home that would be accessible for me and many others. So I was blessed, man. God, you know, just the day this house came on, I can't wait to show you sometime when you come visit. I mean, I just have the perfect spot. You know, it's right above this lake sitting on the top, and I've made it accessible over time. And I don't know, just everything's kind of worked out for me and the people I've been surrounded by. So it just
awesome,
worked out great.
I'm extremely happy for you. Part of how I, you know, got through I got out in 2011, and my situation getting out was a little tumultuous. So my feelings towards the military and my unit that I was with were, you know, I felt a little abandoned, and like something that I cared about was being taken away from me. So my transition and finding out like what works and what doesn't, and how to serve again, and how to care and why to care and all that stuff is,
right.
It's all really important, super interesting, and it's different for everybody. So, but the thing that I noticed, and the reason I brought that up, is the people that I would go and talk to, because I traveled in my car. I lived out of my car, but I would stop and I would talk to people I served with, or just military folks in general from all walks of life, and the ones that seemed to be doing well were attached to something like what you're talking about, and a new team or a new purpose or mission oriented. The ones that were kind of just sitting around feeling sorry for themselves were the ones that would get sucked down into those holes.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm an advocate for, you know, lowering the suicide rate and mental clarity and mental health, and the advice and what I'm trying to showcase is that when you really repurpose yourself and start giving. But I think it's like, it's always, you know, where do you start and how do you do it?
Yeah.
So how can people be a part of what you're doing and find you or help?
Yeah. So Veterans and Athletes United, the website is vetsau.com, VETSAU.com. So we're always looking for people to help travel our memorial. You know, like I said, we have one out west in Missouri near St. Louis. So anybody near that location willing to drive to it, like, we're willing to fund you to get around, even pay a stipend if needed to, you know, basically set this thing up. And it's great events like NASCAR. I really enjoy the small towns because they put the most effort and love into this thing, and they have Gold Star families there that are helping, and like all the events are amazing to be a part of it. You know, but we're looking for people to help travel, especially out west now. I'm trying to build that team. I have a good team here on the East Coast, where the East Coast one's stationed out of Richmond. So anybody interested in driving there and, you know, traveling with it. But we have other volunteer opportunities there. The Reach Cycles one, REACH cycles.org is the website. So if someone wants to volunteer and build a bike or help raise funds for a child, you know, you can find out ways in which both sites have a volunteer application there that you can just fill out and be a part of it if you like. So that was been a big help, you know, all the people that have come into the nonprofit and started being a part of making it possible. So I got the easy job from my wheelchair here, man. I just kind of designate and coordinate, and but I'm fortunate to be surrounded by some great folks. So
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I decided to live in Lynchburg is like I was telling you, we just stopped one day, but it was a Friday, Saturday, and we had hit one of those Monument Terrace rallies. Mm-hmm. And I've traveled all over the United States, and I've never seen a community just kind of naturally rally together like that. And then to find out, you know, Steve Bozeman's story and a few of the other guys and how long they've been doing it, I was just inspired. I was like, man, if there was ever a place to stop and start doing something veteran related,
right,
be a part of something, this is the spot.
That's right.
And then you get here and you learn about, you know, Lynchburg's history with the Civil War and how the wounded veterans came here. And it's just like, it's very serendipitous and full circle, and it's just like a great hub to like really be the example of what veteran communities can do for each other.
That's right.
Yeah, so super, super happy to meet you.
Man.
Inspired by your story. I know you got to go, so we'll keep it short, but is there anything else that people need to know as far as details or things coming up?
No, I mean, you can go to the website and see where the memorial's traveling if you're a veteran out there. So we serve Purple Heart recipients and veterans with 70% or greater disabilities. So if we can help you with a retreat, or if you want to get involved with sports, there's many ways you'll see on the website. Like, get out there, go to the winter sports clinic, the summer sports clinic. These are amazing like events that are like week long, where you get out and get to meet some great people, be around people with similar injuries and learn from them. That's where I learned the most.
What about, so I'm at 70%, Eli's obviously 100%, but we want to do this show. Is there anything in the art community or towards, you know, starting a show like that? Are there grants? Are there things?
Yeah, well, we don't personally, or we don't not provide those through VAU, but I'm trying to think outside of the box. There's a lot of nonprofits out there, kind of, you know, there's ones like if you're interested in writing a book, you know, I think if you just kind of do a little research or even just Google it, you'll find a lot of good stuff out there. As far as grants go, I can introduce you to our, I used to write all the grants for us, and I'm definitely not a grant writer, but in the research that I've done with that, you know, there's some good things out there that could provide you funding. But I'll introduce you to our grant writer too, because she may know some others that kind of go down that path. You know, and don't be disappointed if you don't get a grant. I've always tried to not take that as personal, but putting it out there and writing like 10 of these, honestly, you may get one. If I'm being
honest, I just realized grants were a thing. And, you know, and there's a lot of stuff for people who want to go skydive and you know, do these fun trips. But I've just been put onto a website called Vet TV.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that, and that sounds pretty cool.
It's a whole platform of creators that are vets, for vets, by vets, you know, the whole thing. And it's like, why don't we start doing more of that? Which is why I started community service. But I know that, you know, some of these things can get quite expensive. So
right,
it's like,
of course. No, I think there's a lot out there, and I'll definitely keep my ear open on that one, because I think there's a lot of good things, especially in the arts area. You know, I had recently submitted one out in California. There was one that focused on like arts and things. We didn't get approved, but you know, maybe something along the lines of what you're doing might. So I'm trying to think of some other stuff. If I do, I'll definitely email you or let you know. And but I think it's great what you're doing, man. It's definitely needed, and appreciate you.
Appreciate that. Yeah. In spirit of it being about the community in Lynchburg, what is, when you're not out doing all these things, when you're relaxing, if you ever do, is there somewhere in Lynchburg that you like, or you're?
Yeah, so I live in Richmond, but we always love going to parks, spending time with my family. I have a son now, you know, the fact that I have a family, you know, I never thought that would be possible, but, you know, I'm just eating up being a dad. You know, it's just an absolute privilege, and, you know, so I'm trying to be there for him and everything I can. And so anytime I get to spend with him, or find ways in which to connect, or get him to like museums and things like that. So here in Lynchburg, I mean, we love walking down here on the paths at Percival Island, and, you know, he was just running up and down the same steps I did as a kid, you know.
Oh yeah, I heard you telling that story earlier about you running the steps. I did the same thing when I moved here, because it was kind of like a focal point as to why I moved here. So
yeah.
I lived up on Grace Street in that old hospital, and every morning I would run, most mornings, I would run to the steps, and I would do the same thing.
Right.
And it was just, you know, you got some inspirational music in your ears, and you're reading those names, and you're seeing all that history, and it's just like, man, if you woke up with any type of attitude or discomfort, you could get rid of it there.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to do suicides up those steps with a rucksack on, man. I loved it.
Well, one of the second or third times that I'd gone down there, it was on 9/11, and they were doing the stair challenge.
Yep.
And I got to do that with some of the local firefighters, and I got to meet the Bob Good. So I got to meet some people right away, and kind of, you know, go through that experience with them. And the firefighters were dying, and it was like, you know, trying to push them up and educate, or not, motivate them and get them going. It felt good.
That's great.
So I've got nothing but good memories down there, man. Every time I pass, it's like, it's my spot here.
Yeah. You mentioned the attitude thing. That's our motto for Reach Cycles is that the only bad attitude in life is, the only disability in life is a bad attitude. And then the one for VAU is an old Sun Tzu quote. In every chaos, there's also opportunity. So that's what we try to provide a lot of the folks we serve, you know, just kind of, it may be crazy and chaotic, but focus on that opportunity and finding that, especially during the times like that. It's easy to do when things are good, you know, but when it's tough, like, can you take a step back and really look at the big picture and try to...
And your training has obviously helped you navigate all those
struggles. Man, I'll tell you. Being in a chair and not having, you know, fun, I can't even move my fingers and stuff, but I find my new normal and ways to do things and adapt. And yeah, the training was the biggest thing. Like immediately when I found out I was alive after many times I've almost died, you know, it was like, well, I'm going to spend every day like making the best out of this, you know. And for instance, going through SEER school, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, you know, being stuffed in that POW camp in like a little 3x3 box for hours, you know, pissing and crapping on myself and finding my happy place, you know. Being in a chair, like a lot of people, and I try to tell this to people that are in wheelchairs all the time, you know, patience is something you have to master real quick or you're going to live a very depressing life. Like, yes, pain's going to come and different things like that, and you're going to feel claustrophobic being trapped in your own body, but, you know, if you can find the little good things, I mean, just the very simple things in life that bring joy and focus on that and just really, you know, make the best of those things, it'll help you along the way, so.
Yeah, I've found that was my biggest lesson so far in all my, is just enjoying the struggle, enjoying the suck.
Yeah,
once you do that, man. It's, and one of the ways I've replicated that now in my life is doing sauna and cold showers in the morning.
Nice.
It's like, it's the initial discomfort that makes everything else in the day seem non-existent.
That's a good point.
But yeah, so growing up, you said your dad was like your grandpa. So you're a legacy. You were legacy. Was it kind of pushed on you, or was it just like?
No, I was never pushed, and I don't even think my dad wanted me to go in the military. But he was definitely proud when I did, and you know, I got to see things like I would go down to All-American Week when I was like 8, and I was hooked. You know, put on the parachute, got to, you know, hold some weapons, see a whole mass tack, you know, all these paratroopers dropping on the field, and it's like, man, I want to be a paratrooper one day. Or, you know, I went to VMI when I was 5 years old and saw the Newmarket parade, you know, and hearing Amazing Grace and them come out and sound off at the names that died on the field of honor, you know. The Civil War, whichever way you take it, you know, most people that have never fought in wars are the only ones that want to fight over, you know, what those things mean. But for the actual soldier, you know, and that's a North Vietnamese that said some of those things I'm quoting. You know, it's just, there's the concept around just being a soldier and serving and what you believe in. And I don't know, I was hooked at 5. I was like, VMI is the only place, that's the only place I applied to and wanted to go. And I was kind of a different, you know, my dad was an NCO and my grandfather was an NCO. So coming in as an officer, I learned a lot from them. I had my mouth shut, ears open, and I had a great platoon sergeant when I rolled in, just an amazing guy, but had a different mentality. And when I was going through kind of Special Forces training, I was, I'd already lined up my paperwork to resign my commission so I could become E5, you know, and get rid of captain and spend more time on the ground where I wanted to and do what I enjoyed doing. So, I don't know, it's just a different mentality for me coming through, and I really appreciated the guys I got to serve with. And we just had a great team, and it all worked out for me, man. I can't complain about a damn thing. So.
Have any of those guys transitioned from that team to now your team? Are any of them working with you?
Yeah, actually, the Memorial out in Missouri, and one of the guys in my old platoon, he's helping to run and coordinate all that. One of my best buds, he's actually just retired as a warrant officer now. He was a private when I was in. But that gives you an idea. You know, we were best friends, and I'm a damn lieutenant at the time, you know. But I just had a different relationship with the people I had around me. And, I'm friends with like the sergeant major in my battalion. Like we're going out to bars and stuff.
Way.
Like
I always had friends that I shouldn't have had.
yeah, right. It would have been borderline. What do they call it? Fraternization. But I don't know. For some reason, it worked out for me, and nobody ever busted my ass over it. But yeah, just had good relationships in the military there that continue to today.
Where did you deployed in combat, obviously? Is there anything you can talk about or that you've been country-wise?
Yeah, mainly Iraq, floated around Iskandariya, south of Iraq there, Fallujah and some of those areas.
What years?
But 03, 04 was the main time frame, but...
I was in Fallujah in 04.
Okay.
Yeah, Fallujah 04, Al-Assad 06.
All right, well, y'all probably took over for the 82nd during that time frame. I remember when the Marines were coming back in.
I went into Fallujah Lance Corporal, and I left a corporal. So I wasn't too privy on all the details and who was doing what and where, but I was attached to the COC as like just an extra body.
Right.
So I got to jump on a lot of different things.
Nice.
So I got to see like all facets of the war, which was interesting and maybe more than what I was ready for, I guess.
Right.
Some guys, and they, like our artillery guys, they never really left the base, and they would send them every 30 seconds. But then when they never really saw what those impacts were doing.
Yeah.
So some people can be disassociated from, but when you get to see every little working part of it, kind of, I had a lot of information to process at a young age, so it was interesting. That's
awesome.
But yeah, I loved it. I loved the Corps. I'm actually getting together with some of the guys I met down at the VFW. 4 of us are going to sit down and talk about, we were all in Iraq, and we're coming up on the reunion of going in.
Yeah.
So
we're actually having next weekend, my whole platoon's coming in. We're doing a retreat for them. So
nice.
I'm pumped to see some of the guys I haven't seen in 20 years. We're getting old, man. Like, imagine it's been that long. I'm 43.
43. I'm 39. Yeah, getting up there.
Right.
Are you a part of any other organizations like VFW or?
Yeah, I'm a part of the American Legion there, the Purple Heart chapter there in Richmond, VFW. I actually work part-time for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. I enjoy doing that, just helping other folks with spinal cord injuries that aren't veterans. I think we're a very fortunate generation to have so many nonprofits helping us, and all the benefits we can get through the VA. And when I see some of these people that are newly injured and they weren't in the military or something, it's tough to see that nothing's there for them, and they don't have the support systems.
My other buddy, Eli's one of them. The other is Joey. Joey Woodkey lost both of his legs above the knee. He moved to Nashville because a lot of 5th group guys and military community there. And he got approached to play sled hockey one day. Had never really played it. He played football in high school. Long story short, he just won gold in Beijing on the Olympic team.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
Now he's all about rehabilitation for the kids. He wants to help kids with disabilities, but it's completely changed his life, and he's like, it's amazing to watch him be so successful in that field and want to do more and get into philanthropy. And
that's great.
So to get you guys hooked up down the road would be pretty cool too.
Yeah,
we got a lot to talk about offhand.
Sounds good, man. Keep in touch. You got my number, and I'll text you my email address and stuff. But I definitely want to get you with the grant writer and stuff like that. See if we can get you funds. And I think that'd be great.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thank you.